Good morning. Today we are going to start a chapter on circles. The circle chapter is actually chapter 12, but there is a little part of chapter 10 that I skipped to put with the circle chapter. And so that's what we're going to be doing over the next couple of days is lesson 10-6. Okay, so let me give you some background. A long time ago we learned about segments. And let's say this segment right here is 2 inches long. Okay, so we're going way back here. That segment, you can say that its length is 2 inches, and you can say that its measure is 2 inches, and those mean the same thing for a segment. So length and measure are interchangeable when you're talking segments. Now, when you're talking about circles, let me go back to this too. A segment is part of a line, remember? So the whole line goes like this, and the segment is part of it. Okay, now to circles. So kind of like that idea, a circle goes all the way around, right? Infinitely many points around there. But if we look at just part of it, let's call that A and call that B, that is called an arc. See, this up here was segment AB, and this here is arc AB, right? Well, for an arc, the measure of it is not the same thing as the length of it. For a straight segment, part of a line, the length of it and the measure of it are the same thing. But for an arc, the measure of it and the length of it are different things, okay? And so let me explain. The measure of it is measured in degrees because the whole way around the circle, the measure of the whole way around the circle is 360 degrees. But the length of it is in something like inches or centimeters, like that. So what we're doing today is arc measure, and what we're going to do in the next video is arc length. So all that to say, measure and length are different things for an arc. Okay, let's say this angle is about 80 degrees. I mentioned this when we did the tip chart, when we just put arcs on the tip chart. But the measure of it, the measure of the arc, is the same as the measure of this central angle. Now, it's got to be a central angle. I'm going to put C for center. The measure of it is the same degree measure as the central angle that forms that arc. Okay, the length of it would be like if you were to take a string and lay it across there and then pick up that string and lay it out straight and measure how long it is. That would be the length of it. The measure of it is in degrees. So measure of arc AB is 80 degrees. The length of arc AB, and there's no notation for length of it. You would just say length of arc AB. In this case, it's probably like an inch. Okay, so different measures. So that's my puppy, and she is upset because she wants to go outside. All right, so the thing we skipped over on the chapter 10 tip chart, you may want to take a minute and go grab that if you don't have it with you. We skipped over arc length. And so arc length is the length of an arc, which seems a little obvious for that definition. It's the length of an arc. And another way is to think of it, it's part of the circumference of the circle. So it's a part of or a fraction of the circumference of the circle. Of the circle. Now that's not the measure of it, that's the length of it. And so on your tip chart, I eventually fixed this, but I think at the time that y'all copied this, I had accidentally put this picture here. There should not be a little inner circle in here. So you may want to grab some white out or just scribble that out. But arc length is how long this arc is, not the measure of it. Now I'm going to come back to this row when we do the second lesson about arcs. So don't lose your chapter 10 tip chart, just keep that handy, and we'll pick up there when we do part 2 of this lesson. All right, so for this video, it is part 1, and we're talking about just measures. Okay, so to find the measure of the arc, I just talked about this. The measure of a minor arc is the same as the central angle. And the measure of the major arc, so the bigger arcs, let me talk about that for just a minute. Let's say this is AB, right? This is a minor arc because it's less than 180. This out here is a major arc. It's bigger than 180. And you name a major arc with 3 letters. So this one would be arc AB. This one we would need to pick out any other point that's on this big arc here. And we might as well pick that one, right? Call it D. The major arc is arc ADB. So just follow those letters in that order, stay on the circle. Arc ADB, that's the major one. All right, to find the measure of a major one, it's just the rest of the 360. So like, let's say this one is 100 degrees. This one would be 260 out here because it's the rest of the 360. So that's a little summary of how to find measures. And so I put here, or in other words, it's the rest of the circle. All right, so we're gonna find some arc measures. All right, they want X, they want Y, they want Z. This arc, its measure, is the same as its central angle. So if the central angle is 105, then the arc is 105. So this is 105. And then the same thing is true of this angle and this arc. This is the central angle that goes with this arc. So that angle is the same measure. It is 43 degrees. So I'm gonna go ahead and write those down. X is 105. Y is 43. Okay, and then to find Z, since we don't know the angle that goes with it, it's just the rest of the circle. See, Z is a major arc. It goes past 180. So it is the rest of the 360 degrees. So together, these 2 arcs are 148. And so to find Z, we're going to do 360 minus 148. And you get 212. So Z is 212 degrees. When you get all your arc measures together, you should have the whole 360 degrees. So that would be something to check, especially on a test, to make sure you've got everything covered. Double checking my math there, yep. All right. So this is how you name a major arc. If you see 3 letters, then you know it's the major one, not the minor one. Okay, so starts at A, and this, it looks a little pointy, but it's actually curvy. I just didn't have a curvy one on the program I was using. So it's kind of umbrella-like. And 3 letters means it's major. So you start at A and you stay on the circle and go around, pass through D, and go around and end at B. So it's this major arc right here. All right, the minor one is the same degree measure as the central angle. So the minor one is just 34 degrees. So arcs and angles, central angles have the same measure. And the major one is the rest of the circle. So to get that major arc, you do 360 minus 34, and you get 326. And so here's how you write that. The measure of arc, ADB. Now remember, that's not the length of it. That's the measure of it. And you get 326 degrees. That's how you write that. All right, example 3. So when you have a segment that goes through the center, like that, that is a diameter, and it separates the circle into 2 semicircles. So this right here is a semicircle, which is 180 degrees, and this right here is a semicircle, which is 180 degrees. And since the central angles and the arc are the same thing, it means that those angles will also add up to be 180. Now, if you take the circle off of this problem, this looks just like a problem from way back in chapter 1. The angles would look like this. There's just no circle around it. And that's just a linear pair. So, of course, they add up to be 180. X plus 5 plus 2x minus 5 equals 180. And then you solve that. So the plus 5 and the minus 5 cancels. 3x equals 180. Divide by 3, x is 60. And they may ask you to find these angles and find these arcs. So if they do, you just plug that back in. Okay, and the last example, it's kind of like the previous one, only this time they're giving us all 4 of these angle measures, and if you put that angle measure together with that angle measure, together with that angle measure, together with that angle measure, that's all the way around the circle, which is 360 degrees. So you go x plus 4x plus 2x, doesn't matter the order, you just add up all 4 of them, plus 3x equals 360, because it's the whole way around the circle, and that would be 10 x's divided by 10, you get 36. So now we can find all these angles and all these arcs. This is 36, which means the arc is 36. This is 3 36s, which is 108. So this arc is 108. See, they may ask you for some of these measures. 2 36s is 72. And 4 36s is 144. And if you want to double check on a question like this and make sure you're right, all those should add up to be 360. So 144 plus 36 plus 108 plus 72. You get all the way around the circle, 360 degrees. So the important part about the lesson today is that if you want a minor arc, it's the same as the central angle. Now, this is measure, not length. And if you want a major arc is the rest of the 360 degrees of the circle. And again, that's measure and not length. Next lesson, we are going to find the lengths of the arcs instead of just the measure. Okay, so that is all to the first part of lesson 10.6. Y'all have a great day. Bye.